Hi YouTube, this is Lunch, and today I'm going to be going over a deck list for the new Gamma 2 Reboot leader. This is a leader from the next set, and I was super duper excited about playing with it because I loved the first leader, and it was probably a little overpowered, so it got banned. But I was really excited to find out that we had a new version of the deck coming in, and it actually plays a lot different from the old version. It's basically its own new deck. This is something they haven't really done before. Usually the revamp leaders are like directly what they were from the previous leader. They just like updated them or powered them down in order to make them a little more fair. This one on the other end is essentially a completely new deck. So I'm going to go over what the leader does first because it's pretty different. On the front side, all your energy exhaust for blue, green, red, multicolor, red ribbon armies is ignored. When it attacks, you draw, and then when your life is at 4 or less, or you have a blue, green, multicolor Z extra in your battle area, draw 2 and flip over. Then, the back side is, when it attacks, draw. Importantly, it's not once per turn when you attack, draw, because you do have ways to switch your leader back to active mode in this deck, and you'll draw off every attack. It is an auto where at the end of your turn, you either remove cards in your energy to go down to 3, or you put cards from your hand in your energy to go up to 3. That's really important because you're going to be burning a bunch of your energy during your turn in order to do effects, and it stops you from ramping up and being able to play like big 7-8 cost cards, which you can't do. The reason for that effect is because of this active main down here. Once per turn, add 2 blue red ribbon army cards from your hand to your energy, and you can't play non-red ribbon armored battle cards for the turn. So essentially what you're going to be doing every turn once you flip, which you'll flip on turn 2 pretty much every time if you want to. I'll show you how that works in a second. You will be able to have your 3 charge for your turn, and then activate this to go up to 6. And then you'll burn your energy down to 3 or sometimes even less. And then it'll reset again at your next turn. So basically you're constantly going up and down on your energy. And it's really cool. It's something that no other deck really does, use their energy like an active resource like that. So we're going to start off with the most important battle card in the whole deck, which is this Android 17 Military Terror Creation. It is a 3-drop. Deflect. When this card is played, add 1 Red Ribbon Army card from your energy to your hand, which is important because if you remember, you're going back down to 3. So a lot of times you want to bounce those energy back to your hand so they don't get burned at the end of the turn. Limit 1 for 1 blue. You can play this card from your hand, and then its active main is place 1 of your energy into its owner's drop to draw 2 cards. And you're going to see this whole deck is basically made out of activators, which are things that burn your energy to do stuff, and things that get their effects when they're burned from energy. So this is the most powerful one because it's essentially a +2, because when you play it, you bounce one of those energies to your hand, plus you get to draw 2 cards. So you're basically getting access to 3 new cards on this. It's the most important card in the deck in terms of just netting advantage. Next we have 3 of Android 18 Military Terror Creation. This is kind of like 17, but not as good. Same thing of when you play it for 1, you get to bounce a Red Ribbon Army to your hand. And then you can burn energy to switch a Red Ribbon Army battle card to active mode. So it allows you to give some of your bigger guys dual attack, which is really nice. One more nice thing about this is you also get to draw a card when you play it, which is pretty crazy. So you play this, draw a card, and bounce one, so it's kind of like a +1. Next up is the other most important card in the deck, which is Android 13 Military Terror Creation. This is our first in-energy effect that we're going to be activating. So for 1 blue, if your leader's backside is our leader, when this card is in your energy, is placed into the drop by the skill of a blue Red Ribbon Army card. So when we burn it for anything like 17, 18, any of the other effects, you can pay a blue, draw a card, play this card from your drop, and then add an energy from the top of your deck to your energy. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to do things like play Android 17, make sure you have an energy open, you burn this to draw 2 cards. This will trigger to play itself, draw a card, and then ramp the top to replace itself in the energy. So the best kind of 2-card combo in your deck is playing 17 with 13 in your energy, burning the 13 to play it. I'm going to go over like the actual like physicality of the combos at the end of the video just to kind of show you a little bit because it's kind of hard to just talk about. But the big thing that's great about 13 is it also has this active battle once per turn. Place one of your energy in its owner's drop, choose up to one of your battle cards, it gets plus 10k for the battle. So not only is this a trigger from your energy, it is also another activator. So you can do things like plus 17, play 17, bounce a card, burn 13, draw 2, play 13, ramp top card, draw 1, and then you can burn another one with 13 to trigger another effect, or if you just want the 10k, you get a lot of free combo power in this deck, which is really strong. Another important thing is this active battle is once per turn, not limit one, so if you have multiple Android 13s, you can do it multiple times. In addition, since it's active battle, you can do it on your opponent's turn, which is really good. Next up, we have Android 20, Military Terror Creator. I'm going to keep viewing cards because it's kind of hard to see a little bit on this software. So you have two 1-drops in the game that both essentially do the same thing. The Android 20, when it's played, draw a card, and then if it's in your energy and it's burned by one of your effects, you get to replace the energy wrested from the top of your deck. These are really good on turn 1, for example, if you just need to draw cards, but when they're in your energy, if it's your opponent's turn, these are the cards you want to be burning because then you won't be short on energy next turn. Burning them during your turn doesn't really do as much because you're going to have to go down to 3 at the end of your turn. So mostly you're going to want to be using these during your opponent's turn when you're burning for things like Android 13. Next up, we have Android 16, Military Terror Creation. This is another enabler from the energy, just like the Android 13. Or I'm sorry, no, this is another activator. This comes from your hand. At the start of your turn, switch up to one. End of your turn, switch an energy to active mode. So this also allows you to tap out, which is really nice. You play it from your hand for 2. And its active main is add a blue red ribbon from your energy to your hand, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and place it at the bottom of its owner's deck. So basically, it's a removal piece. 2 energy, it's got double strike, which is nice. You can switch it back to active mode with Android 18, which is really nice. And it's a card that allows you to tap out and then get your energy back. Notably, this one doesn't actually destroy any of your energy, so you can't use it to trigger things like Android 13. But that being said, it's still a very good card, simply because it has double strike, and because it allows you to return energy to your hand. Because remember, at the end of each turn, you want to make sure you're at 3 or lower, because otherwise you're going to get energy warped, and that's like big minuses you don't want to deal with. Here's the other 1-drop, Android 19. And this one basically the same as the Android 20, where if you burn it in your energy, it puts energy from your deck in rest mode. This one just looks at the top 5, grabs a 6 or less, and adds it to your hand. So a similar thing, similar 1-drop. Notably, we play 4 of each of these because these are a lot of times the cards you want to put down from your hand with your leader skill. Next up, we have Gamma 1, Gamma 2. This has dual attack and blocker. Once per turn, place one of your energy to its owner's drop, choose up to one of your blue-red ribbon army cards, and this card gets 5k power for the turn. So it's a Senzu Bean that you can play for 1 with that second ability. It's just active battle, play it from your hand, and then your opponent discards 1. So not only is it a 1-cost play from hand, you can immediately then burn one of your energy to trigger an effect and give something a Senzu Bean. Usually it's going to be your leader. You can give it to Gamma 1, Gamma 2 offensively as well, since it's going to have dual attack. There's another neat combo, I'll talk about this later, but you can really get a lot of free power for basically nothing, even on your opponent's turn. So for example, if you have enough energy up, your opponent attacks you, you can Gamma 1, Gamma 2, use the effect to being your leader, burn an Android 13, and then Android 13 will come out and you can burn another one, and now you've got plus 15k, essentially for free. Your opponent had to discard a card and you drew a card from Android 13, plus like you have battle cards they have to deal with as well. Also, being a blocker is really nice. One other important thing to note here is that Android 18's switch to active mode is active main battle, so you can use it to double block with Gamma 1, 2 if you'd like. Next we have Cell Military Terror Creation. I just realized they have all the same name. I don't know why I keep saying it over again. So he's a double striker. At the end of your turn, when he was using a combo from your hand or energy, you can play 2 to add a blue-green card from your hand to your energy in rest mode and play him from your hand. When he's played, choose up one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. But the important thing about this is he has active battle, use this card as a combo from its owner's energy. Essentially, this is going to be a free combo from your energy If you do it during your opponent's turn, you lose the energy. You'll have one less on your turn, which isn't that big a deal. If you use it on your turn, though, a lot of times it's literally just a free 10k. And it's really nice for getting Z energy when you need it, just putting a little extra oomph into things. This is limit 1, notably, so if you have multiple of these in your energy, then you can't use multiple of them in one turn. It's also removal. Don't ever really use it for removal. It's basically because you need a certain amount of multicolors, and it's a free combo piece. Next up, we have our Seeker Rare, Sun Gohan Beyond the Ultimate. I'm assuming you guys know what this does. It's not a new card, but when you play it, it bounces all battle cards in unison, ignoring barrier to those owners' hands. And then you place 2 cards from your hand on the bottom. If your opponent has less cards than you, it does a damage. Plus, it can stand up 2 things. This is especially good in this deck because if you stand your leader up, you get to draw and attack again. So there is ways in this deck to attack 3 times with your leader, which is really strong. Also, sometimes you'll want to extend your plays and untap energy, or you can untap himself to give him critical. 1 Sun Gohan Power Reclaimed, that's just some incidental removal. 3 Android 17 Defending Friends, this is just our blue Floodgate, pretty standard. I only play 3 because this deck really is a kind of a offensive deck. It's very aggressive, so you don't really need to play as many Floodgates. Plus we have another Floodgate later I'll show you that this deck has access to that most blue decks don't. We play a 2-2 spread of super combos. The reason we play these 2 is because they're both Red Ribbon Army, and since you're charging so many things from the top of your deck, you really want to be able to bounce those back to your hand with your effects. You don't want to lose your super combos. Android 8 is just a regular super combo, and then the 17-18 is actually a super combo that switches a blue-green multicolor to active mode. So you can use that to kind of surprise your opponents with some plays sometimes. Things like switching an energy to active mode and then playing Gamma 1, Gamma 2. There's an Arrival we play later, switching to active, and then you have access to your Dimension Magic, things like that. So I play an even spread of 2 too. We play 1 Android 20 Vial Creator. So most of the Champa Double Strike cards were banned. This is one that wasn't because it's specific to green androids. What it does is it's a 10k combo that grants Double Strike in the combo step. Importantly, this one actually gives combo for the turn, so what we're going to be using it on is Gamma 1, Gamma 2. Oops. So it has to be a green android, remember, so it only works on our androids that are multicolors, but if we give it to Gamma 1, 2, then it has Double Strike for both attacks, which is really crazy. So that's why we only play one of them, because it only really works on a few cards, but when it works, it's really broke. 1 Android 14 Inorganic Horror. This is just a Floodgate negate. So it's cost 2, you pitch 2 cards, you pitch a card to play it, negates the attacks, and if your opponent wants to attack, they have to bottom deck 2 cards every time. It's a really solid card, but this deck really doesn't want Floodgates. I still like it as an option, though. Sometimes on like turn 4 or 5, it's just a really nice option to have, but you'll pretty much never want more than 2 of them, so I only play it as a one-of. This is the much more interesting Floodgate that this deck gets. So because we're a superhero leader, we actually get to play Sun Gohan Power Unshackled. You can play it for 1 from your hand if you use it as a combo, and then you can pay another 1, put it into your drop, and until the end of your opponent's next turn, they can't attack with battle cards unless they choose a battle card with an energy cost 2 or less and place it at the bottom of their deck each time. It's a really, really powerful Floodgate, and more importantly, it's a Floodgate on your turn that applies for the rest of their turn. So it's not something they can like counterplay super easy or stop. They're just kind of stuck with it. It's still something you probably won't be doing a ton because, like I said, this deck doesn't need a ton of Floodgates, but it's really powerful and something you can throw out, for example, if you get Floodgated. We play 2 of Android 18 Measureless Strength. I gotta go down a little bit. Mostly this is just a card we play because it is a untapped blue-green energy, and you can discard it to search the top 5 cards of your deck for a 5 or less android, so sometimes you'll want to use it for that. We actually can use the Arrival relatively easy because we play the super combo that untaps an energy, and if we do, it does KO a battle card, so we do have battle step destruction as well built into this card. We only need 2 of them though because it's kind of an incidental thing. 3 Broly's. So Broly Unleashed Destruction is just like a good generic blue card. It's just you play it for 2, it comes down, it's got 35, so it's really big, and once per turn you can switch it to active, it gains double strike, and you get to bottom deck one of your opponent's battle cards. So this is just another way, since you don't have a ton of built-in destruction, to kind of get around things. Also, it's 35, so it's really big and really hard to deal with in that way. One notable thing is we have to play Broly and our Secret Rare as well before we put our 2 cards down for our active main for our leader, because our leader's active main says afterwards we can only play Red Ribbon Army battle cards. So if you're playing this card, keep in mind you have to do it before you charge the 2 from your hand. Pretty standard 4-dimension magic, 2 Chilled Army reinforcements. This is just a standard negation package. We don't play any other special negates, and these are the only extra cards I play. There is another extra card in the deck called Clash. I ended up taking it out as like the last couple cards. I didn't like it that much, but if you want to try it out, go ahead and take a look at it. Next, I'm just going to show the Z deck really quick because that's important. I'm going to be pretty loose on the generic cards. If you want to, you can look them up. So 1 Son Goku, 1 Black Kamehameha, 1 Cell. Again, we're in blue and green, so we'll play a Broly. 1 Beerus and 1 Dr. Gero. This is just there in case you need to get your 17 Floodgate out. This deck doesn't charge a lot of Z energy, so sometimes you'll need the Z battle card in play. That's basically just to enable that. We do play 4 Justice Impact, which is the card I want to go over. So this is a unique card for this Gamma 1-2 deck. While it's in play, you negate all energy exhaust skills of blue-green multicolor red ribbons in all areas. This is important because when you put your 2 down from your hand, you need him to be in active mode. When it's played in the battle area, you can switch your leader to active, which is really nice. So one important thing to do, make sure you do when you awaken, is you got to swing with your leader first to get your draw. Then you play the Justice Impact because it's going to flip your leader and awaken it and switch it to active then. Then it has active main, place 2 of your energy into its owner's drop and remove this card from the game. Choose all your opponent's battle cards and KO them. So this is a really powerful removal effect, especially because it's essentially free. You don't have to play any energy for it. You use the energy on previous turns. All you have to do is place 2 of your energy into the drop, and you just get to KO all your opponent's battle cards. This is also really useful because if your opponent plays something like a blocker negate in the middle of the turn to try and stop you from going for game, bam, Justice Impact, and it's gone. There's no restrictions, nothing like that. It doesn't go through barrier, but a lot of times it doesn't really matter, and just always having a free destruction effect kind of on deck. Also, you can play these multiple... I play 4 of these because a lot of games will be like, okay, my opponent floodgates, I'll play some things, draw some cards, Justice Impact to clear their board. Next turn I'll want to play another one because that gives my leader another attack again, which also draws an additional card because our leader draws every time it attacks. It's just a really powerful, strong card. One thing to note too, you can play this after you put the 2 cards down from your hand, but you can't play your other Z extra cards because remember, it's only restricts your battle cards. Extra cards are fine, so don't feel afraid to charge those cards from your hand in order to Justice Impact again. Another neat thing too, if it ever comes up in your games, is none of this is limit 1, so hypothetically you can impact multiple times per turn and stand your leader up multiple times. It hasn't come up yet for me, but it is a neat thing that you can do. Once again, this is the main deck. I'm going to go over to myself and we're going to play through a few of these combos just so you can kind of see them a little better. Hey everyone, Lunch here again, and I just wanted to show a couple of the combos from the deck because they're kind of hard to talk out and there isn't really a good way to portray them online. My locals allows us to play proxy cards and cards from new sets, which is super sick, but it also means that unfortunately these don't show up the best on camera. That's why I'm putting this after I described all the cards to you. If I'm talking about a card, I'll put it on the right there. And yeah, let's just get around to showing you a few of the combos. So first thing I want to talk about is, I ignore my small cute printed out leader with sample written on it. I just want to show how kind of an average turn would go for this, since it's a deck that really plays very strange compared to other decks. For example, what we might want to do here is, so we've got our 3 energies to start the turn, right? First thing we'll do is charge a card from hand. Usually you want to charge a non-Red Ribbon Army card because those are the cards you play with, and in addition, those are usually the cards that you're going to need to charge from your hand with effect. So, for example, let's say here we're worried about a floodgate, so we would want to attack first so we can use our Gohan floodgate. We're not going to be able to use this after we charge from our hand. So that's an example where you might want to make that play first. So we combo with it, play it. So let's say we end up going this route and we're worried about getting floodgated. So we attack with our leader, we draw a card, and then we want to combo and pay 1 for Gohan. Everything goes through, Gohan gets played, pay 1 to use the effect. Now we'll charge 2 from our hand. And if we look, we have our big enabler card in hand. So we want to make sure Android 13 goes down. The other one doesn't matter so much. We have multiple ways to pick them back up anyways. Nothing we're doing this turn requires green energy, so even though we've got a multicolor here, nothing really matters for that. So let's just throw down our Android 14. So we charge these two, so now we're good to go there. We have our full combo, so like I said before, this is the most important combo in the game. We want to make sure that we use our 13 for our 17. Since we're going to destroy this, we want to make absolutely sure that it's tapped before we destroy it. That's very important. So on play, we get to bounce a red ribbon. We want to make sure we're not bouncing anything that is untapped, because we're going to use that later. And we don't want to bounce this, so we'll bounce our Android 20 to hand. Just use it for advantage later. You can always put it down. Then we will activate the effect, so we draw 2 cards and destroy an energy. So now that we've destroyed this with a red ribbon army effect, we tap something else. Let's see, I think during this turn we're probably going to use the cell. So we'll tap it for the effect. We get to play our 13, he draws 1, and he charges 1. So there we go. So that's why this is so powerful, is because I've netted a couple cards here now. I've got 2 cards out, and they're both ready to attack, plus this one can also increase the attack of stuff. Let's see, what else are we going to do this turn? We could just start attacking, depending on what floodgates we're worried about. But we also have the capacity to play an 18, or we could play a Gamma 1, Gamma 2. We can't play him more than once per turn, so we don't have to worry about that. Same with Android 18, so we can kind of put those down. One thing also to note is a lot of the times you're going to be tapping out with this deck, so you don't have to worry so much about keeping energy up. That being said, we have no Dimension Magic in this hand. If we had a Dimension Magic, I would 100% be tapping out this turn and just taking a life to untap 2 next turn. We don't have any other major plays to go with, so what we're going to do is swing with our Android 13. If our opponent negates, that's fine. We'll swing with Android 17. And then, for example, let's say they don't negate this attack. So we've got 5 energy. We know that the only destruction effects we have left possibly this turn are these 2. It's probably worthwhile to pop a card with this just for the extra power to try to get an attack through. So we don't want to pop this because we've already used it this turn. We don't want to pop this because it can have an effect as well. So we're just going to pop the Android 17. We don't get an effect, but we don't care because at the end of the turn, we want to go down to 3 energy. So we'll pop this. Now we've got a 25 attacker. So now let's look again. So we have these 2 that we're planning on playing still this turn. Do we need... one other important thing is don't be afraid to go below 3 energy. Because going below 3 energy doesn't matter, because we just charge back up to 3 at the end of the turn. So, just to get this attack through, let's do our free combo as well. Free combo from our hands. Now we've got a 35 going at our opponent. That's going to be pretty hard to block. That's probably a damage. In addition, we get a Z energy. So if we want next turn, we can use another Justice Impact. Next we have Android 18. So we're going to play this for 1. Depending on what you want to do here, you have a choice. So bouncing this is good, because maybe later in the game you want a floodgate, maybe they'll forget about it, something like that. Bouncing this doesn't really do much for us, plus destroying this on our opponent's turn is a plus for us. Same with this card. There's not really much of a benefit to bouncing this back to hand, so you want to make sure you pay the card you want to bounce back to your hand. So we paid that. On play, we draw a card. And then we bounce a card back to our hand. Notice we're down to 2 energy. Doesn't matter. We're going to go back to 3 at the end of the turn anyways. As a matter of fact, we kind of misplayed here, because if we want to leave an energy up, we wouldn't want it to have been that energy. I dropped the card. 1 sec. We wouldn't want it to have been this card. It would be much better if it was like this. So that's where a lot of the skill comes with this deck, is kind of knowing what you want to leave up and what you want to leave down. That being said, we're at this point. We probably want to get our Android 18 attack in. And now if we still have extra attacks, we have a choice. We can burn this and not get the effect. Or we can play something else and then burn this. Given the situation we're in right now, since we have no way to untap energy and we have more of these, I would probably just burn this and lose the effect. We can switch this back to active and get another attack in. You could also just not do that too if you wanted. So that being said, we're now down to our 1 energy only, which sounds bad, but it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of our turn, we just get to do this. Bloop, bloop. And now it's our opponent's turn. We've generated a ton of advantage. I have way more cards. I attacked 5 times. One of which was at 35, so they're probably not coming out of that one. And I have an energy open if I want to do something like a Gamma 1, Gamma 2. So let's say we're here and we're going into our opponent's turn. Just going to swap cards around a second. This combo also works, remember, on our opponent's turn. So let's say they do something, destroy all our battle cards. Happens, whatever. We need a multicolor for this, so we'll do that. And we're stuck right here. Our opponent attacks, they send something big at us, and we don't want to have to combo with the cards in our hand to deal with. We could go untap, play from hand, our opponent discards a card, and then we can pay another one to, we can burn an energy, you don't pay one, to give our leader a Senzu Bean for the turn. So now we've got 35 on this attack. We can pay 1 for our 16, 17, or 13. Screwed up my numbers. Comes out, we draw a card. And if we need to, we can burn again to boost our leader again. This one replaces itself, which is really nice. As well as, actually I missed a replacement as well. So we're actually on the same energy we started with. So we've done all this, essentially netted a card, and our leader is at 40k for this defensive turn with the Senzu Bean for the turn. So as you can see, there's just a lot of really powerful moves you can do. Plus, like, even if we did end up going down to 2, it doesn't really matter that much, because on our turn, we're going to charge, we're going to leader charge, and we're back up to 5 right away. I've literally gone down to 0 energy on my opponent's turn and just been completely fine. Another really important thing to note is if you go down to 2 energy against certain decks, it's actually really strong. Because things like Gohan 8-drop, you can only play them if your opponent has 3 energy. And a lot of times in this deck, if they attack first, we can go down to 2. So for example, if they play a Broly, Broly's effect to stand up only works if your opponent has 3 energy. So if they attack with something, you go down to 2, congrats, you turned off their cards. Some secret rares are like that too. There's a lot of really good stuff. I also want to note that Justice Impact is kind of a broken card. The ability to blow your opponent's whole field up for 0 essentially is insane, and it's basically a +1 because when you stand your leader up, you draw a card as well. So I just want to show a little bit kind of how the deck worked, how it functions, since it's kind of a more complex deck in terms of actions. If you guys have any more interesting combos or anything, let me know. But the real thing with this deck is you can't be afraid to just go at your opponent, and you can't be afraid to burn a bunch of energy down. One other thing I want to note too, before we go, is let's say we don't have anything that replaces energy. And all we've got is like an Android 17, which is over here. If you play it and burn your energy to draw 2, right? Doesn't matter. You could attack and combo with this, go down to 1. You might be like, oh no, I'm at 1. But at the end of your turn, you have to charge back up. So, like, you can burn all your energy on your turn, and it makes absolutely 0 difference. There is one more card I want to talk about before the end of the video. Since the set hasn't come out yet, we haven't gotten an official ruling on this, and I'm almost 100% sure it's going to get errated. That's why it's not in my list. But I would be remiss if I didn't talk about it. The Super Saiyan Bardock Spirit Resonance has the ability to shut off the leader's end of turn effect and hypothetically you can get a bunch of energy. Basically, when you combo with it, you can Spirit Boost 2, and if your opponent's 3 or more energy, you can switch a Mono Blue leader to active, get it 5k, and negate its keyword skills for the turn. So basically what this does is it turns off the end of turn ability where you go down to 3 energy or go up to 3 energy. So hypothetically, you can put your 3 down, ramp your 2, use this, and then you don't go down to 3. I'm like 90% sure they're going to get rid of this. That's why it's not in my deck list and I'm not testing with it. If they don't, it basically opens up a whole nother way to play the deck, because you could play things like Android 17 7-drop and things in your deck, and it would be kind of crazy. You could link multiples of these together, and you'd have to play a lot more unisons. If you notice, I really don't play a unison in my deck, because you need Spirit Boost 2. That being said, I don't think they're going to allow this. I'm not sure what they're going to do. My theory is they'll probably just errata the leader to say, like, this skill cannot be negated or something like that. And it basically removes this whole thing. So, yes, it exists. I don't think it's going to stick around. That's why it's not in the deck. But I wanted to note it before, because otherwise a million of you in the comments will be like, Bardock, Bardock, Bardock. So, yeah. If you like the deck, please, please, please like, subscribe. And I will have more deck lists in the future, as well as if you like Star Wars Unlimited, I do content for that as well as a couple other games. I'm super, super excited for this deck. It's been doing really well at my locals. Like I said, I've been playing it for a couple weeks now. It actually seems quite strong. So I'm really excited about the deck. It's a really fun deck. And if you have any ideas, upgrades, cards I didn't think about, please put it in the comments below and I will take a look. I'd love to improve this deck even beyond what I have.